The Commissioner of the Border Management Authority, Dr. Michael Masiapato, is briefing the media to outline the security control measures at all ports of entry during the Easter period. Let's take you live to that.
Thank you, Program Director. Good afternoon, members of the media, the officers from the Border Management Authority. Just to be safe to say, ladies and gentlemen, when I was introduced, they said I'm retired. I'm not retired. I'm still working. Yeah. Thank you very much, colleagues, for attending this session to be with us in order for us as the Border Management Authority to outline our plans and the programs, and also to make sure that we take the country into confidence on the plans that we have set ourselves for this upcoming Easter season. We are going to do this briefing. I just thought that maybe let me mention one point, that on the 1st of April will be 1 year, officially 1 year as the Border Management Authority. And also we're doing this work after we have transited out of the Department of Home Affairs, where we have been working through them in order to do whatever functions that we're supposed to do. It is very much important for us to to take you through the process, and also ensure that the country is appraised on the programs and the plans that we have put in place. My name is David Chelembe, as the Program Director has introduced me. I'm the Deputy Commissioner responsible for operations. Without wasting any time, I'll call upon the Commander of the Border Guards, the Commissioner of the Border Management Authority, Commissioner Michael Masiapato. Commissioner.
Good day, colleagues. Let me start by acknowledging the presence of Deputy Commissioner for Corporate Services, Madam Jane Tupana, the Deputy Commissioner for Operations, Major General David Chilembe, the Assistant Commissioners, as well as the Deputy Assistant Commissioners present, the entire Border Management community present here today, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen, good day. Today we have gathered here once again to apprise South Africa and all other stakeholders on the Border Management Authority's Easter Operational Plan. This is a significant time for the Border Management Authority, as we are exactly 5 days away from celebrating our 1-year anniversary since our establishment on the 1st of April 2023. This anniversary also comes at the time when the country is celebrating 30 years of democratic governance. The establishment of the BMA was one of the critical milestones of the democratic government, especially after the country experienced the increasing illegal movement of people as well as goods across our borders. As the third law enforcement, as the third national armed law enforcement authority of the Republic, the BMA leadership continues to engage with the relevant structures to secure the requisite resourcing in order to ensure the effective delivery of our legislated mandate. As the Border Management Authority, we continue to showcase our interceptions of illegal movement of people and goods and do profile our achievements through various media platforms at various intervals. The last time we gathered for a briefing was when we were reporting on the implementation of the 2023-2024 December-January festive season plan. Therefore, today we are gathered here once again to present our state of readiness for the implementation of our 2024 Easter festive plan. As was the case in December as well as January, previous trends have shown that the Easter period also experiences an increase in terms of travel as well as trade activities across our ports of entry and border law enforcement area. As a result, as the BMA, we are compelled to properly plan and therefore execute a deliberate plan in order to ensure the smooth and secure border operations during this period. There is therefore a critical need for the authority to increase its deployment of resources in anticipation of an increased movement in our ports, as these present unique challenges as well as opportunities. As a reminder to all the stakeholders, the Border Management Authority is mandated to facilitate and manage the legitimate movement of persons and goods across all our 52 land ports of entry, international airports as well as 9 seaports. This facilitation is done across 5 key functional areas, and those are immigration, port health, environmental as well as agricultural biosecurity, and that includes access control as well as general law enforcement at the ports of entry as well as the border law enforcement area. During these facilitations, the BMA officials have to secure the port environment against threats of illegal migration, smuggling as well as trafficking of persons, and the smuggling of goods in and out of the Republic. With this in mind, we had formulated a comprehensive strategies as well as operational plans to ensure that our deployments are responsive and ensure efficient port operations with requisite capability to deal with any security threat and or risk that may arise during the upcoming 2024 Easter festive period. This Easter operational plan, as we present it today, is supported by various law enforcement structures in the Republic, such as the South African Police Service, the South African Revenue Service, the South African National Defence Force, Cross-Border Road Transport Agency, as well as various other traffic authorities across the various municipalities across the country. In accordance with Section 5, subsection C of the Border Management Authority Act, we continue to collaborate with the Immigration Inspectorate, which operates within the Department of Home Affairs, and operate with them as they continue to identify those individuals who might already be in the country illegally, and of course be able to do their processing for requisite deportation as it is required by law. Since our establishment as the Border Management Authority, we had intensified this relationship with the Immigration Inspectorate. Ladies and gentlemen, please allow me to present the BMA 2024 Easter Operational Plan. As a norm, this Easter Operational Plan contains 4 phases. The first phase is about the planning phase, and we had commenced the planning from the 25th of January 2024, and that is immediately after we concluded the January-December festive operations. And we had effectively concluded the planning phase today. The 25th of March 2024. Part of the planning phase included conducting situational analysis across our ports, which was conducted at port level as well as regional levels, for the purposes of determining the specific needs of each port in order to implement this festive or Easter planning very well. At this phase, various needs were identified, such as the need for the extension of operating hours for those of the ports which do not operate on a 24-hour basis. The second phase is the execution phase, which will run from Tuesday, which is tomorrow, the 26th of March 2024, until Thursday, the 4th of April 2024. The execution phase consists of the exit as well as the return legs, of which the exit is expected to peak on Thursday, the 28th of March 2024, as travelers exit the Republic for various Easter period-related activities. The return leg is expected to peak on Monday, the 1st of April 2024, when the travelers return back to the country. The third phase will be the demobilization phase, which will commence on Friday, the 5th of April 2024, followed by the implementation of the sustained phase from the 6th of April 2024 until the next festive period, which we will be handling during December 2024 and January 2025. The implementation of the sustained phase is based on permanent resources deployed at the ports of entry as well as the border law enforcement area. The primary purpose of the sustained phase is to ensure that the day-to-day operations of the officials respond to the identified threats and vulnerabilities of specific ports. Since we started implementing the sustenance phase after the festive period, significant achievements has been noticed as respective ports do respond to their respective realities across our land, sea, as well as air modalities. During the planning phase, we considered the historical travel data collected during the past Easter festive periods. It is noticeable that the pre-COVID we used to facilitate about 2 million travelers during the Easter period. However, the numbers dipped during the lockdown period, as it were. In the 2023 Easter period, which ran for 8 days, we recovered from the from the lockdown numbers and facilitated about 913,859 people across our ports of entry. Therefore, in this Easter period, which is to run for 10 days, we anticipate a further recovery to about 1 million people moving through our ports of entry. The numbers of this year's Easter period could escalate further as members of the Zion Christian Church, one of our biggest churches in the region, is opening for annual Easter pilgrimage to Moria in Limpopo for the first time since the COVID-19 period. The statistics for the 2023 Easter period showed that ports of entry which facilitated the majority of the people were Beitbridge, which is the corridor into the continent via Zimbabwe, Libombo port of entry into Mozambique, Groblersdal Bridge port of entry into Botswana, Maseru Bridge, as well as Ficksburg port of entry into Lesotho, OR Tambo International Airport, Cape Town International Airport, Oshuk port of entry to Eswatini, Kopfontein to Botswana, as well as Caledon Sport to Lesotho. As a practice, even in this Easter period, we engaged our counterparts in Lesotho, in Zimbabwe, in Mozambique, in Eswatini, as well as Botswana, and agreed on extending operating hours at various critical ports which are not operating on a 24-hour basis. As a result, the chairperson of the Interministerial Consultative Committee on Border Management, who is also the Minister of Home Affairs, Dr. Aaron Motsoaledi, had already approved our request to extend the operating hours at selected ports of entry as follows. We have extended the operating hours at Groblersdal Bridge, port of entry to Botswana. The normal operating hours has been from 6 in the morning until 10 in the evening. We are going to start operating from 7 until midnight, and that is on the 28th of March 2024. In terms of the Kosi Bay port of entry to Mozambique, the normal operating hours had been 8 until 5 in the afternoon. We are going to start operating from 7 until 7 in the evening. And that is on the 20th of March until the 2nd of April. In terms of the Mahamba port of entry to Eswatini, the normal operating hours had been 7 until 10 in the night. We are going to still start at 7, but we are going to stop working around midnight. And that is also on the 28th on Thursday. Now, in terms of Gibis Reef, also to Eswatini, the normal operating hours is 7 in the morning until 8 in the evening. We are going to still operate from 7, and then we are going to close at 10 in the night. And that is on the 28th as well as the 30th of March, 2024. In terms of the Mananga port of entry, which is also going to Eswatini, the normal operating hours is 7 until 6 in the evening, and we are then extending. We are starting at 7 until 8 in the evening, and that is from the 27th to the 28th of March 2024. In terms of the ports of entry to Lesotho, we'll start with Sanipas. We are also looking at the normal operating hours, which is 8 until 6 in the evening. We are then going to start at 6 in the morning, and we are going to then close at 8 in the evening. And that is on the 27th as well as the 28th of March. And in terms of the 31st of March until the 1st of April, we are going to also extend. We are going to start at 7 until 10 in the evening. In terms of the Caledonsport port of entry, the normal operating hours is 6 until 10. And in this particular port on the 28th of March, we are going to open it for 24 hours. But on the 2nd of April, we are going to open at 6 until 12 midnight. In terms of Van Rooyen's Gate, which is a port of entry going to Lesotho also, the normal operating hours is 6 until 10, and we are going to open on a 24-hour basis on the 28th of March. And then on the 2nd of April, we are going to open from 6 until midnight. In terms of Mononsa Pass, which is another port of entry to Lesotho, the normal operating hours is 7 until 4, and we are still going to start at 7 and close at 8, and that is on the 28th and the 29th of March 2024. And then on the 2nd of April to the 3rd of April, we will start at 7 and close at 6. The last port of entry is Peka Bridge, also to Lesotho, port of entry. The normal operating hours is 8 until 4, and we are still going to start at 8, but we are going to close at 6 on the 27th and the 28th of March. And on the 2nd and the 4th of April, we are going to still start at 8 and close at 6. So timely identification as well as responses to the changing operational dynamics by the BMA commanders results in improved responsiveness, turnaround times as well as efficiency at our port operations. Upon realizing the need for additional capacity, we increased our human resource deployment for immigration, law enforcement duties, as well as provide capacity for operational and tactical support across our ports of entry. We will be deploying the 400 additional junior border guards who are currently at college. We are deploying them for experiential learning on the port of entry. They have been trained across all of the various activities that takes place at the ports, and our targeted ports are the busiest ports of entry to assist with the delivery of services as well as the provisions of law enforcement support during this period. The majority of the additional junior border guards, as indicated, will be deployed at Bait Bridge port of entry, the Libombo port of entry, to Mozambique, Fixback port of entry, to Lesotho, as well as Maseru Bridge, Tele Bridge to Lesotho, Kosi Bay to Mozambique, as well as Croblas Bridge to Botswana. There are also a number of senior members of the Border Management Authority and other law enforcement authorities who have been allocated individual ports to go and provide support to the operational teams on the ground. Information and technology support teams had also been deployed to immediately address any kind of system glitches on the ground. As in the previous deployment, the Department of Public Works and Infrastructure has been engaged to provide additional infrastructure such as temporary lighting, special temporary barricades, JoJo tankers for the provision of water to the travellers at selected land ports, as well as the provision of additional generators to ensure uninterrupted power supply during the festive operation. Our execution plan will also focus fully on ensuring consistency of port and borderline security operations, as well as curbing cross-border organized crime and other general crimes. The primary focus on the port is to improve efficiency and effectiveness of the actual port operations. However, we are fully aware of the displacements of some illegal activities from the main ports where we had consolidated our presence and the presence of the border guards to the smaller ports. As such, we have also put in contingency measures to ensure that we deal with those incidences of lawlessness which had moved into our smallest ports of entry into the Republic. We also want to indicate that the border environment remains vulnerable in terms of traveller and officials who facilitate illegal movement of persons and goods. Therefore, as the Border Management Authority would like to issue a stern warning to travellers and all officials not to get involved in any kind of illegal activities, as they will be caught and harshly punished. As the border guards apprehend undocumented persons in different vulnerable segments of the border law enforcement area, serious consequences will apply to any official found to be involved in any corrupt tendencies, such as the facilitation of the illegal movement of persons and goods in and out of the Republic. As the Border Management Authority, we had to ensure compliance to border laws. We are ready to arrest any transgressors during this particular period and all the time. We have also reinforced our deployment in order to improve our detection rate for illicit goods, narcotics, including cigarettes, contrabands, the issue of livestock across our land ports in particular, as well as the stolen vehicles or the stealing of vehicles, which remains a concern for the Border Management Authority. Our further concern is embedded on the issue of corridor management, mainly around the major routes leading to our land ports of entry. As such, contingency measures are being deployed with roadblocks that are to be set up to stagger the flow of traffic towards the ports of entry. This integrated traffic management plan will be implemented in collaboration with provincial traffic authorities. A single lane occupation of vehicles as well as trucks will be enforced. We will be implementing joint management plan of pedestrian queues with neighboring countries or neighboring authorities, as well as joint targeting and inspection of travellers and goods at the single port to prevent any delays. Our response measures will include on-time reallocation of resources to meet changing operational demands. The Border Management Authority continues to warn conveyancers, this means public transporters, it be bus companies, it be airlines, it be taxis, not to transport illegal migrants across our ports of entry and the border law enforcement area. Further, we will continue to impose administrative fines to various transporters, as well as engagements as have been held with bus companies in particular, who have been noted as regular transgressors in transporting illegal migrants. As the BMA, we have also realized that some of the conveyancers deliberately arrive at the ports of entry very late when the port is about to close in order to pressurize officials to process people in the very short space of time. In this instance, we would like to indicate that the conveyancers should arrive at the ports of entry on due time, especially those that are carrying travelers with them, so that they can be processed accordingly and be able to make sure that due diligence is enforced. To this end, we would like to indicate to conveyancers that arriving late at the port of entry will not be tolerated. We need to be able to arrive on time in order to allow the officials to be able to apply all necessary due diligence during the processing of the people as well as the goods as they arrive at the port of entry. Let's quickly reflect on the key areas of responsibility for the Border Management Authority and what are the key issues to be considered by the travelers. On immigration matters, we will continue to increase the utilization of our biometric movement control system across our ports of entry in order to capture the biometric data of travelers. As the BMA, we regard this system as a key risk mitigator as it provides us with the relevant traveler data to analyze for profiling travelers and assist us to properly identify travelers of interest for the law enforcement authorities. Additionally, we would like to urge all travelers intending to leave or enter South Africa to ensure that all their traveler documents are ready in order to avoid unnecessary delays at the ports of entry. Travelers are expected to present themselves as the designated ports of entry and not use the borderline, what we call the vulnerable areas on the borderline, to enter South Africa.
All right, and so we come out of the Border Management Authority's press briefing there.